Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very glad you're with us today. It is July 1st, second half of the year. It's amazing. Half the year is already gone. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that comments in the Zoom chat window will not appear. If we ask that you go into speaker view so that what you see in the lower left-hand corner where you can see the PowerPoint presentation, the person speaking, and you're going to want to have your chat box open because we'll be asking questions and throughout the presentation. For those on Zoom, please open up your chat box. For those on Facebook, if you have any questions, please just put your information into the comment field. I'm monitoring that information for you. We will review 1 or 2 resumes live today, so you can submit your resume using the chat box. So when you open up the chat box, down at the very bottom, you see a little file where you see the blue arrow. You can click on that, you can attach your resume, but please be aware that your header information will be public. So if you want to delete your name and phone number and email address, please do so before you submit it. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It's available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our programming tomorrow at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. And if you want to practice your interviewing skills, this is an outstanding way to do so. And if you'd like, we'll put some information in the chat box here in just a couple of seconds about how you can reach out to the PIC group. Well, our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach. She's been leading many of these sessions over the last year and a couple of months. And Carol, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours. Okay, great.
Thanks, Jeff. And I've been looking forward to, let's see if I can share my screen. Okay, there we go. I've been looking forward to this one because I've created a new list that I'm sharing today. And let's see. Trying to share my screen here. Looks a little different. I'm going to stop sharing a second. Here we go. And I click on that thing that looks like a champagne glass to get it into slideshow mode. Okay, great. Well, welcome to everyone. As Jeff mentioned, during the last part of this session today, we will review 1 or 2 resumes live. And I think one person's getting ready to send me theirs. And you can send me your resume through chat as a file attachment. And if you wish to remain anonymous, you can delete your contact information off the top of your resume or change it to Mickey Mouse or something. And I won't say your name out loud, but that's everyone's favorite part of this session. So please, please do send me your resume in chat and you'll get some free coaching that way. And we're going to be using the interactive parts of Zoom today. So I'm going to open up the participant box, and we've got a good number of people out there. And I'm going to open up my chat box. And when you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my second monitor. There we go. And to get us warmed up using chat, I'm going to ask everybody to type in something into chat. Have you ever done something that you think wrecked your resume? Something on your resume? And if so, what was it? Have you ever done something on your resume? It could be just a typo or a spacing issue or maybe something else. Have you ever done something on your resume you thought, oops, I need to fix that? Yes. Okay. Somebody's trying to send me their resume. It says they have a network disconnect. Maybe you can send an email to Jeff somehow. What would be the best email?
Just send it to resume@careerdfw.org. Resume@careerdfw.org.
Great. So just send your resume to resume@careerdfw.org. And then Jeff will be able to send it to me in chat so I can download it. Good, good. Yes, somebody has said they've had typos on their resume. Yes. Resume at careerdfw.org is the place to send your resume if you can't send it through chat. Good. Any other things that people have done on the resume that they had to fix? Spacing issues. I see that a lot. And I will say 95% of the resumes I've looked at as a hiring manager and as a recruiter have had some sort of issue with them, whether it's typos, spacing issues, verbs being unparalleled, seen lots of issues. And what I'm going to do today is share lots of ideas about resumes. And you've heard the old adage, if you give your resume to 5 different people, you'll get 5 different opinions. And I'll be sharing lots of ideas. And you're welcome to adopt the ideas that work for you, and the ones that don't really resonate with you, you don't have to use them. We're just sharing different ideas, and I'm sharing them based on my perspective. So I will share my background about my perspective. And I'm looking at the chat box. Somebody said, yes, spacing issues on their resume, periods where they shouldn't be, no periods where they should be. And that's always a big question when you think about the bullet points in a resume, especially in the professional experience section. Those really aren't full sentences, so they don't technically have to have a period. But if you put one at the end of one bullet, do it for all of them. So the rule there is to be consistent. And what I gravitate towards too is just going ahead and putting a period at the end of every one of those bullets, just to be consistent, because without them, it almost looks unfinished. So yeah, spacing issues, typos. Somebody said 7 or 8 different opinions if you give your resume to 5 different people. So I'll be sharing ideas from my perspective based on my experience working as a hiring manager and looking at many resumes, and then also working as a recruiter and presenting resumes to hiring managers. And I've worked in both agency and corporate recruiting environments, which was really valuable experience. And I had a chance to place people in a variety of roles. And I see a fun new comment that came in. Somebody said the misuse of words in their resume, like using manger that wouldn't be picked up by the spell check, but you meant to say manager. Yes, I see that frequently in resumes. And also, by way of background, I've volunteered for the Dallas Pit Crew that Jeff mentioned. And that's a wonderful place to practice your interview skills. So good for you for being here to learn about the top 10 resume wreckers. At the same time, you want to spend an equal amount of time working on your interview skills and actually practicing out loud. It's amazing what you can learn by practicing answering questions out loud, because I've had many people say, ooh, once I started saying that out loud, I realized maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe I should phrase it differently. So it's a great, safe place to practice. And we've loaded the information about the Pit Crew in the chat box. And also I'm certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. So some of the things I'm sharing are things that I've learned through my certification, and then also learned based on presenting resumes to hiring managers and gotten feedback. And also I keep very close in touch with my recruiting friends based on the work I've done as a recruiter, specifically at Next Step Recruiting, where I retired from in 2019. They're always looking for these types of people, accounting leaders, accounting supervisors, accountants, and also HR people as well, and finance people. So if you have a background in any of those areas, please reach out to me and I can get you in touch with a great recruiter. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you do connect on LinkedIn, type a little personal note about where we met. Good. So this is our agenda today. So during the first part of the session, we'll review some information about applicant tracking systems. And then we'll talk about my top 10 resume wreckers. I put that list together actually by brainstorming with a longtime friend of mine who's been a VP of HR. She and I just started brainstorming over what are some things that people do that just wreck their resumes, and put them in a list. So that's a fresh list I'll be sharing with you. And then we'll talk about the concept of a one-page bio and how that's different than a resume. And we'll talk about the concept of having a master resume, which is a great idea. And many of my clients, as I work as a career coach, many of my clients are starting to create master versions of their resume and also one-page bios. Okay. Yeah, somebody said the top 10 resume records. This I gotta see. Yeah, you gotta see this. And then we'll talk about key components of a resume, and then we'll review a couple of samples. And I think somebody's trying to send theirs an email. So there are a couple ways where you can send me your resume right now so I can review it at the end of our session. One is as a file in chat, you can send it to me. Or if that's not working for you, you can email it to resume@careerdfw.org, and Jeff will get that sent over to me.
Yeah, Carol, I'm having the exact same issue where it won't allow the resume to go. So I'll just have to share it from my end.
Okay. Wonder if has some hot links in it. Is it a Word document?
It's a Word document.
Word document. You could try saving it as a PDF and sending it to me, and then go
Okay,
through.
let me do
Yes. Yeah. I think sometimes native Word documents with the hot links have trouble going through Zoom chat for some reason. Give that a try. Okay. So in the spirit of today's top 10 resume wreckers, here's a little cartoon. Your resume says you spent 4 years at college. So there's a wrong word there and a typo there. So you want to be sure to look for any typos in your resume. I'm just double checking my chat. So we'll review a little bit of information about ATS Systems, and I am going to pause for just a quick moment and download this resume. I got the one that Jeff sent over through chat. Okay, so I've got that downloaded. So applicant tracking systems. When you are applying for a job online, these are the systems that are reading the data in your resume. So they're parsing the data and putting pieces of your information into the database. So they have your name, your phone number, your job titles, your education, all stored in the database. So when you're applying online, you want to make sure that the version you're using to apply online doesn't have a lot of special characters in it, like special formatting, special underlines, shading, boxes, tables, bolding, pictures, anything like that. You just want to keep it as clean as possible. And don't use the header section within MS Word to put your contact information, because some systems like Workday don't read the data out of the header section. And you do want to ensure that the keywords align to your job description. And there's a tool called jobscan.co. Are we going to be doing a giveaway today? We're not going to be doing, we've run out of licenses, I think, for that. But it's a great tool. And I think you can do 5 free things with it, with jobscan.co. It's a tool you can use to compare your resume with a job description to see how good of a fit you are based on keyword matches. And then also, often applicant tracking systems give you the chance to upload your resume as an attachment. And that's the version that the recruiter would be looking at and also sharing with the hiring manager. So that version you may want to send as a PDF so it stores the formatting the way you intend it to be stored and looked at. And also there's often an opportunity to upload a cover letter. Now, my recruiting buddies and I used to say, and we still say, that we never have time to look at cover letters, don't spend a lot of time on those. But there have been some studies that about 60% of hiring managers do take the time to look at cover letters, to see your attention to detail, to see a little bit about your writing style. And so it is a good idea if it asks for a cover letter to go ahead and submit one. And we do have a simple format that we'll be sharing in the chat box for you. I just say don't spend a lot of time on it because recruiters often only have time to look at the resumes. So when you're working with all these ATS systems, you probably hear a lot of different things about how they work and maybe even conflicting information about how they work. And so don't get frustrated about that. The reason for that is there are so many different systems and each company can implement them differently. And each recruiter works a little differently too. So you just want to kind of keep the big picture in mind and just try to upload a resume that's free from a lot of special formatting. And the most important thing is that when you're applying online, don't just sit back and wait for the applicant tracking system to match you up and wait for an interview, because your chance of getting called for an interview is only 2% out of 100% if you apply online and just sit back and wait. So the chances are nearly zero. So the most important thing to remember is to contact a person at the company. And when I say contact a person at the company, who should you contact? Type an answer into the chat box. When I say, you know, when you're applying online and you want to reach out to somebody and let them know that you meet the requirements for the job, who should you reach out to? Type something into chat if you know the answer to that. And there are multiple answers to this. Somebody said the hiring manager, a member of the hiring team, VP of department, hiring manager, or the recruiter that's listed for that job. Those are good suggestions. And I say, try whatever works for you. And what I have found works the best, and this is based on my experience working as a corporate recruiter and an agency recruiter, is first, if you know somebody at the company, reach out to that person and send them a copy of your resume and type a nice little email that they may just forward over to the recruiting organization and say, hey buddy, or hey, whatever their name is, I just applied for the blah, blah, blah job at your company and I meet all of the requirements, or I meet a majority of the requirements, especially, and then you want to highlight a couple of the key things that they're looking for in the job. Say, I'd be happy to talk to the appropriate person, and I'd be grateful if you could forward this over to your recruiting organization. And then your buddy can either forward it over to a recruiting leader or one of the recruiters, or they might be able to see behind the scenes who the recruiter is that's assigned to that job. So that's a good thing to do, because recruiters are often incented to look at applicants that have been referred by internal employees. And that increases your chances up to 50% if you've been referred by somebody internally. Another option, if you don't know anybody at the company, if you can see the name of the recruiter who posted the job, send a message to them. Maybe just a quick LinkedIn message. Hi, I just applied for your whatever position. I meet the requirements. We'd be happy to have a conversation. Here's my phone number. Just a very brief message. You can do that on LinkedIn. If you don't know the name of the recruiter who posted the job, I recommend you go a level up. Don't just reach out to any recruiter, because those recruiters are struggling. They typically have 20 different job titles that they're trying to recruit for. They're underwater. They're trying to meet their targets. They're struggling. So go up a level and find a leader. So you have to search on LinkedIn, go to that company's company page, click on people and search for recruiting or talent acquisition, and try to find a leader, a manager or director or VP of talent acquisition. Reach out to them, because they have their head above water and they can quickly take your message and give you or send your information to the right recruiter. Or if they're helping out the recruiting team, they may talk to you themselves. And I say this rather than the hiring manager. Now, if you have a relationship with the hiring manager or have a pretty good idea of who they are or kind of know them through your network, you might want to try that. However, as a recruiter, a corporate recruiter, I would often find the hiring manager, like the CFO, would come marching down the hall and say, Carol, I got another one of these resumes. Can you screen this person and send me your top 5? You know what I'm looking for. You're doing all the screening of all these, hundreds of resumes. Give me the top 5. He didn't want to spend time screening resumes. So that was the situation that I observed. So that's why I recommend going to the recruiter who posted the job, or recruiting manager, or somebody you know at the company. So that's kind of a long answer to that. Just a little bit about my background there. So now I'm going to share with you the top resume records that I put together based on brainstorming with one of my friends initially, who's been an HR director and VP. And then I also brainstormed with a couple of other recruiting buddies, and we all had the same one was number one. And that's typos, spelling errors, grammatical mistakes, even little spacing issues in your resumes. 95% of the resumes I see have these kinds of mistakes. Don't do that. Even though we say every time you apply for a job, you need to update it. When you update it and customize it for that job and put in keywords, double check, that you haven't added any errors. Also, one of the biggest things are verbs that aren't parallel. When I say that, do people know what I mean? Type into chat. What does that mean? When I say verbs aren't parallel, what does that mean? Means, I'll pause a minute. I'll go on to the next one while you're typing in. What does that mean when I say verbs aren't parallel? Consistency of tense. You're fast and you got it right. That's correct. So for jobs in the past, all of the bullet points that highlight your accomplishments should start with a strong verb in the past tense. Don't mix up present tense, ing, verbs that end with S. They should all be verbs that end with ed. And for a job, if you're currently working, the verbs for the most part would probably be in the present tense. However, there can be exceptions for current jobs. If you completed a project and made some major achievement, that achievement might be in the past tense. Okay, so good. So good for you, consistency of tense. Then also, you don't want to include a photo on your resume, because the resume is a job application document and it's subject to kind of employment law types of issues, and you don't want to cause any creation of any bias type of situation, because there are some hiring managers and recruiting managers that will toss aside resumes that have a photo on them because they don't want to cause any sort of allusion to bias at all. So you don't want to include a photo on your resume. It's okay to include a photo in your LinkedIn social media account, and also one-page bio, which is a social networking document, but not your resume. And then also another big record, I'm seeing this a lot when I'm looking at your resume and I can't tell what kind of professional you are. Are you an HR person? Are you an accounting person? Are you a data analyst, a data scientist, a business analyst? I can't tell. So you want to put front and center what type of person you are. This is a resume for a business analyst. Put it front and center. Now, if you've been an HR manager and you're applying for VP of HR, but you've never been a VP of HR, you may want to talk with somebody you trust about what to put at the top. I tend to not to say, don't put VP of HR if you've never been a VP of HR. On the other hand, if you could do all the functions listed in that job description, maybe put executive leader or VP leader, potentially. Good. And I see some people are networking in chat. Feel free to do that. Type in your name, your job title, and a couple of target companies. And if you see any people out there that are trying to get into a target company and you know people, help each other out. So feel free to network. Use the chat box. Use this training class as an opportunity to network. That's fine. That's absolutely correct. Good. And also another big record is when the resume doesn't align to the job that you're applying to, or the key skills, or that your primary skills or areas of expertise don't align to the top 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 key skills required in that job. Too much text, because humans just don't read paragraphs anymore, and recruiters are scanning these documents. In the world of recruiting, there's something called the 3-word rule. Recruiters will just kind of scan these bullet points, and they may just read the first 3 or 4 or 5 words of every bullet point. So don't put in too much text, because it'll never get read. Looks like a sea of letters. So short, simple. And don't use an unusual format or multiple columns that make it hard for the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to parse your data, but also make it hard for a human being to figure out, okay, where's your education? Where are your key skills? Where, you know, where are your certifications? Where are your software skills? Where is everything? So don't use any unusual formatting. And then also another wrecker is when your resume is not consistent with the jobs and especially the jobs and the dates that you have on LinkedIn. If you have different company names and different dates, that can raise red flags. I caught somebody in a lie doing that. As a recruiter, sometimes I would take a quick look at the LinkedIn just to kind of get to know the person, but also double check a few things. And I saw one individual on his resume, he had a job that wasn't on his LinkedIn profile. So I asked him about it. He goes, oh yeah, I worked there. Well, I happen to know the HR person at that company, and I called them, and there was no record of that person ever working there. And I called him back on that, never heard from him again. So you don't want to raise those kind of potential concerns. And another resume wrecker. On the one hand, it's good to list hobbies or volunteer leadership when it's to your advantage. Like, for example, if you're applying to a company where community outreach is really important and they've done work with, they've done team building activities at Habitat for Humanity, and you've done Habitat for Humanity, that might be a good thing to list on your resume. Or if you've done some really nice community leadership, if you have served as a coach and mentor for the pit crew, which I highly recommend. If you're a hiring manager and you've conducted interviews, volunteer for the pit crew, send them an email. We put some information in the box. Those types of things are good. You know, if you've demonstrated leadership, mentoring, demonstrated community outreach, and you're applying for companies where that's important. But if you list like 10 activities or hobbies and they're all current, I've looked at resumes like that, and I've told people in mock interviews, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of worried that you'd have time to do this job. You have a lot of volunteer activities. So just be careful about that. And then also, I often get the question about, what about functional formatting of resumes? And that was kind of in vogue a few years ago, where the first page or so is a functional format, and just at the very end, you kind of list the companies you worked for. And that format got kind of a bad reputation because people were using it to hide things, either gaps in their resume, or when they were changing jobs, or they weren't sure how to present their capabilities. And hiring managers just really want to see your story. They want to see where you've been, how long you've been there, if you've been promoted. They want to see your career progression. And I've had hiring managers say, no, I don't want a functional resume. Give me the chronological version. I want to see the story. So I do recommend going with that. If anybody else has any other resume wreckers, feel free to type those into chat. And hope you've enjoyed those. But those are important ones to, you may want to take a quick screenshot of this screen and then go back to through your resume and see if you have any of these wreckers in your resume. And also I wanted to talk a moment about the concept of a one-page bio versus a resume. And I know we've had some repeat people here, and I'd like to ask again, if anybody has a one-page bio, if you could type something into chat, like say, yes, I have one, and how you've used it. That would be good, because a resume is typically 2 or maybe 3 pages, and it really signals you're looking for a job. And if you send it to somebody, they're going to think, okay, this guy's looking for a job, or this person's looking for a job. But a bio can be used in a variety of situations. And I'm curious if anybody has a one-page bio, if you've ever used it for any other types of situations. Yes, and somebody used one as a job fair. It's like, yeah, it's like a bigger version of yourself. And that's kind of good, because you can't really customize your resume to the job description because you're just at a job fair. So you're just giving a high level overview about you. But then once you talk to the recruiter and find the actual job description, then you could submit your customized resume to that particular job. Yes. And I've also heard of people using them for just informational interviews. When you're reaching out to somebody just for advice and saying, here's a little bit of information, about me. Would you have 15 minutes of time to give me advice about my career? So good. And then somebody asked if a bio is the same thing as a marketing plan. And I have heard those words interchangeably a little bit, but I think a marketing plan might be something even slightly different. Marketing plans, and I'll talk about that in a moment when I show an example. And we've posted an example in the chat box. So resumes show all your work history. It's a job search tool. A bio shows major accomplishments and expertise, and it's a multi-purpose tool. So here's a sample of a bio, and we've loaded this Word document that you can take and you can customize it for yourself. We've loaded it into chat, and I was trying to look for a version that was easy to update, that I could share with people. And one of my clients used this version, and he got good feedback about it. So I asked him if I could borrow his template, and he let me share it. And so I just plugged my information into it, where it has a picture, my key areas of expertise, quick background paragraph about me, my professional biography listing the company names I have, and then education, certifications, contact information, and then major headlines about accomplishments relating to those areas of expertise. And where you can quantify things, quantifiable, that's even better to do that. So this is what I call a one-page bio that really shows a summary of areas of expertise and key accomplishments. A marketing plan may also include things like target companies, perhaps, and the types of job titles you might look for. That might go into more of a marketing plan. And I think of that as more behind the scenes tool. I don't, if I'm out networking with somebody, I may or may not, depending on the situation, give them a list of my target companies. Now, if I'm just networking at somebody, let's say Lennox Air Conditioning, that's where or Lennox Industries, my dad had worked there for many, many years. And let's say I'm networking with somebody at Lennox because I want to get in the door at Lennox. I admire that company. My dad designed those rooftop air conditioning units, and I want to work in their HR department. I don't think I'd give them a document with a list of all the other target companies I want to go work for. I'd give them a document more like this that lists my areas of expertise so they can get to know the types of accomplishments that I can bring to them.
Carol, would you like to see a J for Cyril's bio?
Sure.
All right, let me.
You want me to stop sharing?
No, that's okay. I'll share, then you'll have to just share back here just a second.
Okay, I would.
So here is his bio.
Okay.
And very different. So instead of landscape, instead of portrait, it's landscape mode. He does include, he said he likes to put his competencies in the first column, his professional achievements and stuff in the second column, and then he'll go and list what kind of job titles he's looking for. And he does list target companies, but he does say, make sure that if you're going to send this to somebody, make sure their target company is the first one on the list, because otherwise you shoot yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
And so there's no right or wrong. I mean, I guess ultimately there's no right or wrong way to do a bio.
Yeah.
What you feel comfortable with. This is just totally different than what yours looks like. And
yes.
There's plenty more of them out there on Google you can go find.
I do like this one. Is this one we could use every week, or when I give this presentation as another example? Or
yeah, we could show it. I'll go through and I'll change his name and everything off of it.
Okay, yeah, if you could do that and send it to me, then we'll show it, because I like to show a couple different formats, and we could share those two formats in the chat where people can use those. I think I have to share my screen again, I think. Let's see.
I just thought it was interesting because I just happened to be on it the other day and I thought, oh, that's sort of interesting though.
I like that one. Yeah, that's a good one. And it's just bullet points. Yes. And I would say, yeah, be mindful about that list of target companies. Yeah, and depending on the conversation, whether you include that or not. Good. Okay. Can you see my screen where it says
yes, you're good.
Okay, good. And now, Jeff, would you have a moment to talk about of master resumes?
Yeah, so one of the nice things about, I mean, I think everybody should have a master resume. You want to make yourself easy. One of the things that Jay Frasero talks about, who did our Monday networking meeting, is when you prepare, is that you should spend a few hours and come up with a master resume. Come up with everything you've done, put it in one document. That way, when you do find a job, you can go through and eliminate everything that's unimportant. So list all the jobs, list 10 or 15 bullet points, list everything you have results for. And, you know, if you prepare all that information ahead of time, when you do see a job description, you should be able to, within 10 minutes, be able to go, okay, let me cut this out, cut this out, cut this out, boom, resume's ready to go, and you can send it off. So it's just sort of a quick way for you to think about things once. Don't think about things after the fact, and you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh man, I should have added that bullet point to my resume that I sent off this afternoon. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And I was working with one of my clients on this exact concept, and they had a master resume of everything, so they wouldn't forget anything. And then they had a version that was for project management jobs. And so it was about 2 pages, really focusing on their project management accomplishments. And that was kind of their template they used, and they would customize it for each project management job because there might be different areas of expertise they're looking for. And they also created one because they had a strong business analysis background. So they created another one for business analyst types of jobs. So they had their master resume that maybe was like 4 or 5 pages long. And then they had a 2-page kind of project management template that they would customize for each job. And then a 2-page business analyst template that they would customize. So I had a couple of good questions come into chat. Is the bio, okay. Okay. The functional resumes, somebody asked, is it absolutely necessary to put every job, even though that's no longer, no bearing? No, you don't have to put every job. In fact, in a moment, we'll be talking about the length of your resume and some different options for that. Okay. And then resume's purpose is to get you the interview. Yes, it's the purpose of the resume is for the recruiter to scan it and go, yep, that's the kind of person I'm looking for. A business analyst with these skills, with those software skills, that degree, and pretty good longevity at jobs. Yep, that's the kind of person I'm looking for. And then the job application, that's where they ask you to type in all the different companies, maybe your supervisor names. And so that's why you go back to your master resume to get that. So good questions there. So characteristics of good resumes, you want to make it easy for the ATS system and those screeners, those recruiters, those hiring managers to see very quickly you're a good match for the job. You want to make the formatting clean, lots of white space, not too much word. Overall length, sweet spots about 2 pages. We talked about a 1-page bio. You don't want a 1-page professional resume unless you're right out of college. That kind of signals to the recruiter that, oh, right out of school, everything fit on 1 page. If you've had 3 or 4 more years of professional experience, it probably should go on to 2 pages. And then some jobs that are highly technical or government, 3 or 4 pages is absolutely fine. Number of years, like how many companies do you show? We'll give you an option here to type in an answer. Do you typically, and I like to poll the audience here if we can, do you typically show all of your experience, or do you typically show the most recent 10 to 15 years? And we've launched a polling question. So go ahead and hit one of these answers. Or C, to show details about the most recent 10 to 15 years, and then have an additional section that says prior relevant experience. So which one do you do? There's really no right or wrong. I did option A, when I was looking for a job at the age of 59 and a half, 59 3/4 actually, and I got the job. But the people I was networking with knew all about my background. They knew I'd been at EDS a long time, and that worked for me. Option B, I saw that a lot when I was a recruiter, because a lot of people were told, chop it off after 10 years of your most recent experience, just chop it off. But those resumes, it looked like something was missing. It looked chopped off. And I'd have hiring managers say, wait a minute, where's the full story here? And so what I found, hiring managers really appreciated option C. And I see 80% of y'all, good for you, use option C. That's the one I recommend the most often. That's where you show the most details about your most recent jobs, but then you can put prior relevant experience. And on your resume, you don't have to put the dates for those prior jobs. And you don't have to put all of them. Prior relevant experience. You can put company names, especially ones where you might be referring to examples during your interview discussion, because you don't want to say, use an example. When I was a project manager at IBM, and then it's not on your resume, that causes confusion and kind of derails the conversation for a moment. So thank you for that. So option C is a good option. B can kind of work some of the times, and A can work some of the times too. So it's a personal choice. So now we'll review some of these key components of a resume, and then we have one sample to look at. And if anybody else might have time to look at a second resume example, you're welcome to send it to me in chat. You may have to send it as a PDF document if there's any hot links in it. And you can send it just to me, and you can take off your contact information if you wish to remain anonymous. And everybody loves it when we look at real live resumes at the end. So we'll walk through these key components first. The heading, use the name you like to be called in the workplace. For example, my husband's name is Joel Edward Brickell, but he goes by Ed. So he would put Ed Brickell at the top of his resume. You want to make it easy for the recruiter to remember you, and easy for them to kick off the interview. Hey, Ed, welcome to this interview. Otherwise, we're, hey, Joel Edward, what do you like to be called? So good. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat, and good. People are networking, that's great. And be sure to list all these kinds of contact information, your email, a professional looking email with your name, and something fairly current like gmail.com, not AOL. And please do not use your physical street address. And if you live somewhere in the great state of Texas, but plan to move to DFW, you could either just keep the location blank, or you could put DFW if your plan is to be in Dallas-Fort Worth, and if you could start work within 2 weeks notice, you could just go ahead and put DFW if you plan to get yourself here. Okay. And summary profile. This is my favorite section of a resume. This is where I spent the most time looking and reading as a recruiter and as I work with people. And also when I work with people with their resumes, they say they get much more response when they have a good summary section, and put the title front and center so I can tell in a glance the type of person you are. Now, if you're changing industry or changing jobs, you may have to finesse this title a little. If you've never been a technical recruiter and you're applying for a technical recruiter job, you may have to put technical professional or something, and then in the first sentence say technical professional, highly skilled in conducting interviews, recruiting types of words, but you may not be able to put the title up top if you've never been that role before. Okay, so you want a very, very short opening paragraph, because the recruiter may read just the first 5-6 words, maybe the first line, and that line should align to the heart of the job that you're applying to. And for this particular job, the heart of the job was they're looking for somebody that can document business requirements and work closely with customers. So that's in the very first line or two. And then the areas of expertise, these 3 across the top and the 3 in the first column better align smack dab in the middle of what the job is that you're applying for. And then key accomplishments can be a good thing to put at the top of the resume, especially if you're in sales or business development or finance, and you have quantifiable types of targets that may span multiple jobs or jobs that you've actually had, and you want to show over 5 consecutive years or something like that. That's good. Also, I was just helping somebody who's had jobs, very senior level jobs in HR, but they don't have a degree. So what we're doing is we're highlighting their professional accomplishments their career accomplishments, where they have started up a talent acquisition organization, where they've implemented a big system or something. So they have big accomplishments at the top of their resume to kind of make up for the fact they don't have a degree. And is there a max for bullet points per job? Yes. Please don't put 10 or 15 bullet points per job. Jeff, what do you think the maximum number is? What's a good number?
If it doesn't relate to what's on the job description, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe 5 to 6 at the most. I mean,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
I think as you say, you want to whet their appetite. You want to get them to call you on the phone. You can't tell them everything you've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though you loved working on all those projects, you did so many things. You want to focus on the things that would be meaningful to the hiring manager. Somebody said they were told 3. I would think that looks chopped off. Yeah, I would say I think 5 is a good, 5 or 6, especially in your most recent job. Maybe some of the older ones, maybe 3 or 4. Okay, all related to the role. I think 3 would be slight. Okay. Now let's see the examples here. 5. Yeah. So in your professional experience section, reverse chronological order, use parallel verbs, past tense, they're all past, and present tense job, everything's present except for where I achieved something or the guy achieved something. And a lot of recruiters like to see a 1-line description of the company, especially if it's not a common name. Okay. And limit the number of bullets per job to about 5 or 6 and focus on results. And people often ask, how do I make my bullet points sound more like results? Well, what you got to do is play the so what game. If you've ever heard me talk about the so what game, type yes into chat or comments on Facebook, Facebook Live. Yeah, you've heard me do it. Yeah, Mark's heard me do this a few times, but it works. And I just did it this morning. I was coaching a very senior HR person, and I said, so what? I said, that's just a funny way of asking, so what was the outcome? What was the accomplishment? And then she told me a whole nother story about that bullet point. And so that tells me we need to write that bullet. So here's an actual example when I was helping a pretty senior marketing person. They had a bullet point in their professional experience that said they guided the next phase of brand evolution for multimedia artists and managed film production. You know, it's pretty cool, but so what? What was the outcome? What was the accomplishment? And the answer was that they increased business opportunities for this client. So she ended up rewriting that bullet point to focus on that accomplishment. And then she also rewrote some of the words to align with some of the key words that they were looking for in that job description that also corresponded with her background. So she reworded it to say she increased business opportunities, including pending commissions for a client based on developing a full social media and PR strategy. Those are some key words they were looking for. Okay. And then also, if you've had multiple jobs within a company, please put your dates like this. Don't have all your dates right justified, because then it looks like you're a job hopper. Because remember, recruiters are just scanning your resume. So if you've had multiple jobs, put the whole time you're with the company on the same line as the company, and then put the years that you're with those jobs right next to the job title, maybe in parentheses. Okay. And put education and software, and look for any special software skills that they're looking for. And if you don't have a degree, don't put bachelor's. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, just put the city school, maybe the major area of concentration. And this individual I was talking to didn't have a degree, but we have a section called awards and certificates. So there were some major awards she had, and some, they weren't quite certifications, but there were some certificates she got. So we have a nice section at the end instead of education. And I wanted to show this real quickly. Every time you're applying for a job, I want you to study, just spend a few minutes, study the job description, highlight the keywords, especially look at the bottom of the job description and look for the key requirements for the job. Like here, one of the requirements, here's what you bring. You need to bring to the job. It's a qualification, it's a requirement. they want Agile, they want Scrum, they want Visual Studio software as a plus, but if you've got it, put it on your resume. And finance knowledge. And then also read the description of the job. This will tell you the heart of the job is to document business requirements. So make sure you put that in your summary and look for other things that you'd be doing on the job, like process flow charts, and put those in areas of expertise. It should take just a few minutes to do this. Do it every time you apply for a job. And by doing this activity, you may decide, oops, maybe I'm not qualified for this job. Maybe I move on, save time, move on to the next one. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen and let's see, and pull a new resume. Let me see. I have to pull this up and do a new share. New share. Here we go. We've got a few minutes. So good. Can you see the resume okay?
Yes, we got it.
Great. Good, good. Okay. Senior offering manager. Okay. You know, I'd recommend have your name there and your contact information. Keep that all together because recruiters are wired to think, okay, name, contact information, and then they start reading the text. So they might miss the title if it's up there. I've had that trip me up a couple times. So I would put the title in place of this leadership profile. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down the rest of this resume. And if people have any other suggestions, feel free to type those into chat. So I'm going to scroll down. Got a summary statement, leadership strengths, and you've got company names and the locations, right, justified. The dates are over here. I think that's backwards because the recruiters are really wanting to scan the dates. Scan for the dates and other relevant experience. Is that other or is it prior? Because other, it's like, are you doing that at the same time? That when you say other, that causes a little confusion for me. I'm like, was that at the same time as this, or is that just prior relevant experience? Education, Master of Business Administration, Bachelor of Science. It's a little confusing to me. Did you do all that? I would put Master of Business Education, comma, whatever the school was, because I can't tell where you got your master's or where you got your bachelor's. Maybe you got them both at Cornell, but it's unclear to me. And then certified Scrum Master, like good stuff. Project manager, okay. I'm not sure what this Rotary thing is. The Rotary Club is great. Just don't know if you serve a leadership role, maybe put comma what your role is there. Coast Guard, thank you for your service there.
Yeah, like after veteran, the very last line there, you need to put a space between that and the dash. I've seen a number of little
yes
things that aren't clear, that aren't, you
yes.
know.
Yeah, that's one of those spacing issues.
Yeah, right after Scrum Master, he's got, you know, he doesn't have the space, and after owner, he doesn't have the space. So
those are different kinds of dashes. Yeah.
you get all that straightened out.
Yeah, those should be consistent. Maybe do them all like the IBM one with that long dash with the space on both sides. Good. The font seems a little small.
You've got a couple different fonts in there, it looks like.
Yeah, you want to be consistent with your font. This looks like Calibri or Arial to me. Calibri 11 is like the #1 favorite. This looks more like Times New Roman. Times New Roman is acceptable, but it's a little small. It looks like it has, Times New Roman has the squigglies in it. Okay, so I would move your title and put that in place of leadership profile. You don't need the words leadership profile there. And passionate to create. Okay, that's sort of an objective. You want your summary statement to be a description of who you are as a professional. Yeah, and you've got a mixture of fonts. This needs to be reworked. I would just have one opening statement sentence with one other one. And these look like bullet points, like you create a mindset, you ensure. I'd look at a couple of examples. Look at the example that we're sharing today, maybe model that example and rewrite that. And instead of leadership strengths, typically people put areas of expertise, because you may have some other skills listed that aren't necessarily leadership skills, but just strong skills like in process improvements or.
Well, and he doesn't list, and he's a scrum master, but he doesn't list that to the very bottom. I mean, you want that at the very top because people want to see, people want to know that. I mean, after your name, you could even put comma MBA. Let people let us know that you've got.
Yes, you could. Yes.
Things.
Yes. So you want to target, what I'd recommend is get a target job description, pull out some of those keywords, rewrite the opening, and rewrite your list of bullets. And I would add 3 more based on what's really required for the job. And if they're looking for Agile Scrum, put that top and center. Okay. And don't necessarily need to have a verb in front of them. Yeah. So I would recommend working with somebody on this top section. And I would put more bullets here. Yeah, provide business plans to ensure sales results.
So what?
Yeah. I mean, you said to ensure, but what does that really mean? So I dive into that a little bit. You kind of have the result there, but not really. Okay. So yeah, and I'd switch this around. I put Checkpoint Technologies, right, justify 2018. Oh, I put Checkpoint Technologies, comma, Tampa, Florida, and then put the dates out here. Client Success Manager, Project Manager. Okay. And here you have a extra / mark. Okay. And I think I'm running out of time. So that, yeah, this does require a little bit of work.
Got some good information on it. Just
real good.
And just sort of a recruiter is going to get thrown off by looking at it, I think.
Yes, but really good stuff there. Just I think if you just spend an hour with somebody, and people are welcome to reach out to me if you wish. I can give you a couple of quick questions on updates on LinkedIn needed. Okay.
Carol, thank you very much. Great information. If you want to reach out to Carol, here's what her LinkedIn profile looks like. Please, if you do want to reach out to her, please send a personal note. Just don't click the connect button and don't send a personal note. We want to know how you met, and that's the same as go for me. You're welcome to connect with me, but let me know that you met me here, that you're on today's workshop. Oops. Let's see here. Here we go. If you're on Facebook and you'd like to get the sample T cover letter, the one-page bio, or the sample resume, or any of these documents, you can't download them. If you're on Zoom, you can just send send an email to resume@careerdfw.org. Let me know that what you need, and I will get those to you over the weekend. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 5 days a week. So please join us tomorrow for the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group in the morning. It'll strictly be open forum. It'll be whatever it is you want to talk about. So please come up with some questions about your job search, things you'd like to know more about. And it'll just be a free for all. And if you have opinions, you can offer your suggestions to other people. Next Monday, for Networking Mondays, we're going to take Monday off since it's a July 4th, even though it's the 5th of July. We'll observe July 4th on that day, so we'll take a 3-day weekend. On Tuesday, for LinkedIn Tuesdays, how to create a LinkedIn brand that tells your key contacts who you are, what you do, and how you can help. This is with Terry Sullivan. Please note this event will not be recorded, so if you want to see it, you do need to watch it live. Next Wednesday, if you're interviewing Wednesdays, we'll be on session number 10 of 13, how to build rapport, establishing chemistry with the interviewer. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page, and in a couple hours, it'll be on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. On the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Be sure to click where you see playlist, the green arrow, and then up will come lists that I've already put together. It makes it easy for you to find what you're looking for. So if you want something on resumes or interviewing on LinkedIn, whatever the topic is, you'll be able to find those very easily don't click on the video, but click down below where you see the red arrow where it says view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different topics in that playlist. The newest one should be on the top. If not, click on the sort button and you can always resort them to get the current one up on top. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you're welcome to please join the Career USA mailing list. You will not be spam, but I'll put out 5 or 6 emails a week. And what you will get is every day you'll get the topic of the day, the title of the day, and the Zoom link. So you don't have to go look for the Zoom link to find that. So if you'd like to do that, if you're not getting it from some other source, please send an email there. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Carol's volunteering here. I'm a volunteer. What I've done over the last 13 years has strictly been as a volunteer. We have no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations. So when you do make a donation, it helps pay for Zoom. It helps pay for business cards when we start handing those back out and we're meeting in person. It pays for the web names, the web hosting. Anything I can't get donated is what it helps cover those expenses. So please consider making a donation when you land your next job so we can continue to provide the services that we do provide. So thank you for joining us today. Carol, thank you very, very much. And everybody have a great, safe, happy July 4th, and we'll see you all either tomorrow morning or next week.
Great. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.